Why did Fast and Loud really vanish? The shocking truth behind TV's most sudden disappearance? We all have that one show, the kind that grabs you by the collar and doesn't let go. For gearheads and reality TV junkies alike, that show was Fast and Loud. Week after week, it delivered high-octane drama, insane car builds, and the electric energy of Richard Rawlings. Then POOF. Just like that, it was gone. No final goodbye. No warning. Just silence. Millions of fans were left in the dust, asking the same question, what the hell happened to Fast and Loud? After years of dominating the Discovery Channel, how could a cultural phenomenon just vanish? Let's hit the gas and find out what really went down. Fast and Loud wasn't just a car show. It was a lifestyle, a cult hit, a gritty tribute to rusted-out relics reborn into roaring beasts of beauty. Richard Rawlings, with his Texas charm and untamed charisma, was the face of it all. The man could sell ice to an Eskimo, or better yet, sell a busted '69 Camaro for six figures. Born and raised in Fort Worth, Rawlings was wrenching on engines before most kids learned to drive. By age 14, he had his first car. Sure, he dabbled in printing for a while, but the roar of an engine always called him home. In 2002, he went all in. He sold his business, took a risk, and opened Gas Monkey Garage in Dallas. It wasn't just a garage, it was a movement. Classic car lovers around the world tuned in to watch Rawlings and his crew resurrect forgotten machines into masterpieces. They didn't just fix cars, they gave them a second life. From a 1968 Shelby Mustang to a '77 Firebird Trans Am, Rawlings had a jaw-dropping lineup. But he didn't just restore, he reimagined. He added flair, power, and modern touches that turned heads and opened wallets. It was raw passion. It was real skill. And it was damn good TV. So what happened? How did it all come crashing down? Stay with us because we're about to reveal the secrets, scandals, and behind-the-scenes drama that ended Fast and Loud and why the ride stopped cold after roaring for nearly a decade. Were you a fan of Fast and Loud? What build blew your mind the most? Drop a comment below and tell us which car you'd bring back from the dead. Richard Rawlings, the business beast behind the wheel and the sudden silence that shocked us all. Sure, Richard Rawlings could build a killer hot rod, but did you know he also built an empire? Away from the roar of engines and the grease-stained floors of Gas Monkey Garage, Rawlings was quietly pulling off deals that would make Wall Street veterans jealous. He sold 28 custom restored classics, raking in over $10 million, proving his talent wasn't just in turning wrenches, but in turning rust into pure profit. Even without the glare of TV cameras, his business thrived. But let's be real, Fast and Loud was the rocket fuel that launched him into pop culture orbit. Rawlings didn't just fix cars, he changed the game. The man became a symbol of cool, of grit, of what it meant to bring raw steel back to life. So when Fast and Loud ended suddenly, without warning, it felt like more than a show getting canceled. It felt like the heart of car culture flatlined. For fans, it was personal. That rumbling garage energy, the sparks flying, the adrenaline of every build. Gone. And while Rawlings has pushed forward with new ventures, something's missing. The garage is quieter. The screen's gone dim. The culture of classic restoration just isn't the same without the swagger of Gas Monkey and Rawlings at the helm. Each episode of Fast and Loud was more than just car porn. It was a ride along into Rawlings' own journey. His passion, his hustle, his stories, they drew you in. You weren't just watching a car transform. You were watching a legacy unfold, one rebuilt engine at a time. Do you think Fast and Loud should make a comeback? Or was its final burnout the last of its kind? Sound off in the comments. He wasn't just the boss, he was the heartbeat of the garage. Richard Rawlings, the wild-eyed leader of Gas Monkey Garage, didn't sit behind a desk barking orders. He rolled up his sleeves, grabbed a wrench, and dove straight into the grease and grit. His hands-on style wasn't for show, it was the fuel that powered Fast and Loud to the top. Every engine he rebuilt, every rusted-out frame he brought back to life, screamed one thing: this was more than business, it was obsession. But Rawlings wasn't just rebuilding cars. He was building an empire. In a bold, strategic move, he stepped into the high-speed world of motorcycle racing by backing racer Peter Hickman, a sponsorship play that sent a clear message: Rawlings wasn't just playing the game, he was reshaping it. The rise of Fast and Loud was no accident. Discovery Channel executives had been keeping a close eye on the internet buzz swirling around Rawlings' garage. When they saw the jaw-dropping transformations he was pulling off, they knew they had TV gold on their hands. Rawlings seized the opportunity and never looked back. At first, even he had his doubts. Could a reality show about car restorations really stand out in a sea of scripted drama and tired formats? The answer roared to life the moment Fast and Loud hit the airwaves. Viewers were hooked by the high-stakes deals, fiery shop banter, and jaw-dropping flips that turned beat-up junkers into six-figure masterpieces. Rawlings didn't just find fame, he engineered it, one engine block at a time. It started with a simple idea and exploded into a global TV phenomenon. Fast and Loud wasn't just about rebuilding cars. It was about pressure, passion, and pushing limits under the bright lights of reality TV. Behind every polished fender and roaring engine was a storm of tension, tight deadlines, and raw, unfiltered hustle. The show threw viewers straight into the chaos of Gas Monkey Garage, where forgotten wrecks were spun into jaw-dropping custom rides. It was part mechanical mastery, part emotional roller coaster. Every episode was a gamble. Will they beat the clock? Will the sale be worth the sweat? And can the team hold it together when the pressure hits redline? What made Fast and Loud truly special was its heart. These weren't just car flips. They were battles, labors of love forged in oil, grit, and sheer willpower. The audience didn't just watch transformations. They felt them. Even the producers were stunned by how fast the show caught fire. And when they discovered that Richard Rawlings' passion for cars ran deep influence by his father's unsung legacy in the industry, they knew they had lightning in a bottle. They decided to honor that history, weaving it into the show's DNA, and it struck a powerful chord. With its mix of shop floor banter, high-stakes deals, and a behind-the-scenes look at a world most people never get to see, Fast and Loud became more than a hit, it became a movement. By season 4, the show had found its rhythm, introducing fresh faces and plot twists that kept viewers glued to their screens. It was a high-octane countdown to either glory or disaster. The Fast and Loud crew was in overdrive, hustling to flip car after car, all while dodging the looming threat of financial collapse. Every wrench turn was a gamble, and when Richard Rawlings bet big on a car that screamed loss instead of profit, fans knew they were in for a wild ride. These high-stakes risks and unpredictable challenges weren't just background noise. They were the show's heartbeat, pulling in millions of American viewers who couldn't look away. What started with big dreams and sky-high ratings soon hit a rough road. One by one, key cast members began walking out, sparking whispers of behind-the-scenes drama. Fans noticed the storylines becoming repetitive, the tension starting to feel a little too rehearsed. Was the magic fading? Was Fast and Loud losing its soul? The network had the money, the audience, and the momentum to keep it going for years, so why pull the plug? The answer, though never clearly spoken, pointed to one man, Richard Rawlings. He was the face of Fast and Loud, but when he chose to step back, the show's foundation cracked. Behind the scenes, Rawlings was growing restless. What once felt like creative freedom had become a corporate cage. He was no longer free to explore, experiment, or even speak candidly thanks to an ironclad Discovery Channel contract that threatened heavy fines for saying too much. When asked why the show ended, Rawlings kept things vague, brushing it off as the right time. Rumors swirled, bitter disagreements with producers, backstage conflicts, and Rawlings' growing frustration with the scripted constraints of reality TV. His departure wasn't just personal, it was tactical. He needed a way out, a fresh start, and a chance to reinvent himself on his own terms. And with his fast-growing social media empire, Rawlings finally had a platform where he called all the shots. In the end, Fast and Loud was more than a car show. It was a powder keg of personalities, pressure, and profit, and when it blew, it left fans stunned, heartbroken, and desperate for answers. The sudden cancellation of Fast and Loud sent shockwaves through the car enthusiast world. Fans were stunned, blindsided by the news that their favorite adrenaline-fueled show was no more. For years, it had been their go-to escape, a roaring, engine-revving ride through the heart of American car culture. And just like that, the engine went cold. Then came the bombshell. Tom Smith and Jordan Butler, two of the show's most respected garage veterans, vanished without warning. One week, they were elbow-deep in grease, the next gone. No farewell, no explanation, just silence. The sudden disappearance lit up fan forums like wildfire, with rumors swirling about a behind-the-scenes fallout. Eventually, the truth leaked out. Richard Rawlings had fired them, but the damage was done. The silence had only fueled the drama. Audiences were left with more questions than answers, wondering what else had been hidden behind the cameras. The final episode of Fast and Loud didn't just close a chapter, it marked the end of an era. It exposed the brutal reality behind the glamour of automotive entertainment. Egos clashing, business pressures boiling over, and relationships breaking down. What looked like smooth cruising on TV was actually a ticking time bomb. Now, with the show in the rearview mirror, Rawlings has traded cable television for YouTube, unchained and unapologetic. Free from the tight grip of network contracts, he's revving up a new era of content, bringing his bold, unfiltered personality to a global online audience. Fast and Loud may be gone, but its legacy and its controversies are still firing on all cylinders. So what really happened inside the Gas Monkey garage? What secrets were never aired? Buckle up, we're about to expose the twists, betrayals, and bold moves that changed everything. This was the scandal that cracked the Gas Monkey empire wide open. Fans thought they were watching a show about restoring classic cars. What they got instead was a real-life lesson in betrayal, compassion, and consequences. It all blew up when Tom Smith dropped a bombshell. He and Jordan Butler were fired for doing something shockingly innocent, letting a fan snap a photo with a custom car inside the garage. But the full story? Even more emotional. The fan in question wasn't just anyone. He was battling cystic fibrosis. Denied access at first by a cold-hearted manager, the crew led by Smith and Butler defied the order and let him take the picture. A simple act of kindness. That cost them everything. when the story hit the public, the backlash was swift and brutal. Richard Rawlings, once the beloved face of Fast and Loud, was suddenly painted as heartless, corporate, and disconnected from the very community that made him famous. And with cancel culture reaching its peak, fans didn't hesitate. Viewership tanked. Loyalty shattered. The Rawlings brand was bleeding, and Fast and Loud was running out of gas. But the trauma didn't stop there. Enter Jesse James, the legendary bad boy from Monster Garage. His surprise appearance on Fast and Loud had fans buzzing, imagining a powerhouse duo of car culture royalty. For a moment, it worked. The chemistry was electric. Until Rawlings took a public swipe at James, igniting a feud that spiraled wildly out of control. James struck back with a jaw-dropping stunt that made headlines nationwide. In an act straight out of a reality TV fever dream, he dumped a mountain of horse manure right on Rawlings' driveway and made sure the cameras were rolling. It was messy, humiliating, and impossible to ignore. The fallout? Devastating. Jesse James, once a fan favorite, saw his reputation torched overnight. Viewers who admired his grit were left shaking their heads in disbelief. Rawlings, already embattled, now had another public mess to clean up. And fans? They were done playing along. What was once the most watched car show on TV had become a cautionary tale of ego, missteps, and reality show illusions. Because in the world of Fast and Loud, what you saw was never the full story. The real drama on Fast and Loud didn't always happen in the garage. It was the chaos behind the cameras that kept fans hooked. Season 4 promised one of the biggest discoveries in the show's history: a barn find of supposed original Pontiac Firebird prototypes, hyped to be worth a jaw-dropping $325,000 each. It had everything mystery, nostalgia, and a golden ticket moment. But what looked like a car restoration dream quickly unraveled into a reality TV nightmare. Turns out, the story wasn't quite what it seemed. Car experts and die-hard Pontiac fans weren't buying the fairy tale. After digging into the details, the truth came out. These weren't rare, priceless prototypes at all. They were standard early production models, valuable, sure, but nowhere near the six-figure claim shouted on screen. The final nail: those very same cars popped up on eBay, listed for under $30,000. The revelation exploded online and shattered the show's credibility like a busted windshield. The whole ordeal exposed a darker truth about Fast and Loud. Not everything was as real as reality TV pretended it to be. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. Time and time again, fans watched Richard Rawlings make bold, dramatic decisions, painted as a visionary leader with a golden gut for car flips. But behind the scenes, his fast calls often skipped expert input, and the consequences were costly. Some cars he sank serious money into were later found to be rotted beyond repair. What looked like risky genius on screen? In reality, it was more like reckless spending. For all the roaring engines and greasy glory, Fast and Loud was also a high-octane blend of smoke, mirrors, and media manipulation. And as the scandals piled up, so did the doubts, turning a once-beloved series into a cautionary tale about what happens when reality TV starts rewriting reality. By the final seasons of Fast and Loud, the wheels were falling off fast. Richard Rawlings, once seen as the fearless leader of Gas Monkey Garage, was now being viewed as a man losing his edge. He kept pouring money into rust buckets, some nearly 80% corrosion, sparking whispers that he was recklessly throwing cash into the fire. The once sharp instincts that built an empire, now questioned at every turn. Rawlings began pushing extreme customizations, swapping out parts left and right, convinced he could outsmart the original design. But time after time, these tweaks caused more harm than good. One fix would break another, turning simple flips into expensive repair spirals. The losses were mounting and fans were noticing. Billed as a tribute to the legendary Knight Rider, the team was tasked with building a replica KITT car, all for a friend's birthday. With a big budget and big hype, expectations were sky high. But what fans got instead felt like a slap in the face. Rawlings spent more time sipping cocktails in Europe than under a hood, and the episode felt like a badly scripted buddy comedy, not a car build. Viewers called it fake, lazy, and a betrayal of what Fast and Loud once stood for. The authentic, grease-stained magic that made the show a hit, replaced by staged drama, weak plots, and flashy distractions. Instead of roaring engines and real craftsmanship, they got storylines so forced they felt straight out of a soap opera. With viewership slipping and criticism mounting, it became clear the show had drifted too far from its roots. Ending Fast and Loud wasn't just expected, it was necessary. With the dust finally settling on Fast and Loud, the spotlight now turns to the crew who made it legendary. Leading the pack? Richard Rawlings, the outspoken, risk-taking king of Gas Monkey Garage. If fans thought the show's end would slow him down, they were dead wrong. Rawlings is thriving, unchained from the tight rules of network television and fully embracing the chaos of car culture on his terms. Now a digital powerhouse, Rawlings is flexing hard on YouTube and Instagram, giving fans a raw, behind-the-scenes look at his latest projects. From jaw-dropping flips to exotic car hunts, he's buying some of the rarest rides on Earth with one goal in mind: cash in big and build a new empire, 1 horsepower at a time. But what about the rest of the crew? Let's head back to Dallas, where 2 familiar faces are chasing new dreams. Aaron Kaufman, the silent storm of the garage, shocked fans with his sudden 2017 departure. His exit? Brushed off as personal reasons. But behind the beard and calm demeanor was a man hungry for creative control. He launched his own shop and focused on his passion, restoring vintage Ford F-100S with surgical precision. Discovery Channel couldn't stay away. They handed Aaron the reins to Shifting Gears with Aaron Kaufman. The show promised freedom and innovation, but it never found its audience. Canceled after 1 season, it was a tough blow, but Aaron isn't bitter. Instead, he's keeping his options open and waiting for the next big opportunity to rev his engines back on screen. And Sue? Stay tuned. Her next move may just surprise everyone. Sue, the sharp-tongued upholstery queen of Fast and Loud, was never just a side character. She was a fan favorite. Born in Taiwan and raised on a farm, Sue brought her relentless work ethic to the U.S. in 1984. Starting with just $4,500, she flipped a failing Dallas upholstery shop into a thriving business, eventually buying the entire building complex herself. Her grit and talent made her a powerhouse. That's when Richard Rawlings noticed. He brought Sue onto Fast and Loud, where her straight talk, killer skills, and viral one-liners like "Why you always bring me junk" made her an instant star. She wasn't an employee, but she stole every scene she was in. Then, without warning, she disappeared. No official word. No goodbye. Just silence. Fans speculated everything from a financial feud with Rawlings to being sidelined on the show. Whatever the reason, Sue's sudden absence left a void and plenty of unanswered questions. One thing's for sure, Sue didn't just fix seats. She stitched herself into the soul of the show.